Have you ever felt like you're walking through an invisible doorway, one that no one else can see or understand, but you know deep inside that something profound is shifting within you? You might not be able to explain it, but you can feel it clearly. Your mind is quieter, your heart is no longer racing, and your soul seems to be calling you towards something greater. If this resonates with you, you are not alone. You are being guided. And this very moment could be the sign that you are about to enter the best chapter of your life. Don't miss it, because what you're about to hear might change the way you see yourself and your journey ahead. Make sure to subscribe and watch until the end, because your presence here is no coincidence. The deeper you go within, the more you begin to understand that the isolation you're feeling isn't a punishment, it's a rite of passage. Pulling away from the crowd doesn't mean you're being left behind. It simply means you're being called forward, into a space where you no longer live by others' expectations, but start listening to the authentic calling from within yourself. You may start to notice that you no longer resonate with shallow conversations, insincere relationships, or goals once labeled by society as success. Instead of chasing external validation, you find yourself drawn to stillness, truth, and depth. And you might feel strange, out of place. But that isn't being lost, it's recalibrating your inner compass. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens." And that awakening, though often painful, is the first step into the most authentic phase of your life. No longer living as a programmed version of yourself, you begin to reconnect with something more original, more wild, more real. A version of you that even you have never truly met before. One of the clearest signs of this profound transformation is when you begin to rebuild your relationship with pain. In the past, pain was something you avoided, escaped from, or tried to hide. But now, instead of reacting to it as an enemy, you begin to listen to it as a guide. Because pain, when observed with presence, is no longer a sign of breakdown, but a message that something inside you has been confined for too long. And now, it's cracking open so that the light can come in. You begin to see that the fragments in your life are not failures, but signs that old structures are crumbling to make way for something stronger to emerge. Maybe you lost your job, lost friends, or simply no longer find meaning in a path that once excited you. That doesn't mean you're weak. It means the outer shell is falling away, and your true self is rising. Another sign of this inner awakening is a heightened sensitivity to inauthenticity. You no longer tolerate fake conversations, polite but soulless words, or social behaviors lacking genuine presence. You start craving real connection, even if rare, more than blending into a sea of people you don't truly relate to. And this may make you feel even lonelier, but paradoxically, it also brings you closer to yourself. You may also start to feel an urge to cleanse the energetic space around you. Maybe you suddenly want to step away from social media, simplify your life, or say goodbye to relationships that have run their course. This isn't retreating, it's a return. A return to core values, to conscious simplicity, and to a new way of living, one that isn't about chasing but about aligning. And then, in the stillness, another feeling arises. Inspiration. Not the impulsive kind stirred by the outer world, but a deep, inner inspiration, as if your soul is drawing a new map for your life. You may feel a creative energy waking up. Maybe you want to write, to paint, to build something entirely new, not for praise, but simply because it feels true to you. Not because you're trying to prove something, but because you can no longer pretend. You can no longer live a life that isn't yours. This transformation may cost you many things, but it also brings a rare opportunity for rebirth. Not as a new person, but as your true self, original and whole, after shedding the layers of dust that society, family, and ego have piled on over the years. If you see yourself in these words, then take a deep breath. Because you are not losing anything. You are being offered a chance to reconnect with who you truly are. It's not easy. It's not instant. But step by step, you are walking into the most radiant and authentic chapter of your life. Trust the disruption. Learn to listen to the discomfort. And above all, trust the voice within you, because it is the map that no one but you can read. However, there is something within you, a silent yet unstoppable wave, beginning to rise. A whispering call from deep within your being, not allowing you to simply get through each day. This is when the fifth sign appears, a powerful urge to grow beyond yourself, to break free from old cycles, and to step into a more authentic, vibrant, and empowered version of who you are. No more compromising with mediocrity. No more days passing with your soul locked in repetitive numbness. Now you feel a quiet urgency, not from panic, but from a deep understanding that time is no longer infinite, and you can no longer postpone living your truth. You look back on the years gone by and feel that something is incomplete. Not because you didn't try, but because you've lived too long under the expectations of others. Now, as the fog begins to lift, you see clearly that every pain, every stumble, every crisis was a teacher, guiding you to the threshold of deep transformation. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And you begin to realize that the breakdown you experienced was, in fact, the necessary unraveling that revealed your true self. There is no longer a need to please or prove. You are no longer chasing external perfection, but embarking on a journey to reclaim inner wholeness. From this place, a new source of motivation arises. It is not loud, not flashy, but profoundly intense. You feel called to learn, to heal, to create, to love, and to engage with life consciously. You might find yourself drawn to things you once overlooked: meditation, art, nature, philosophy, psychology, or simply silence. You begin to listen to your body more, observe your emotions more, and you no longer want to run from your darkness, but learn to sit with it, to understand that it, too, is part of your wholeness. This growth is not a destination. It is a living journey, where each day, each moment, you are becoming the person you were born to be. You begin to live as though every breath has meaning. You say what needs to be said, do what needs to be done, not out of duty, but because the truth inside you can no longer be ignored. You begin to attract different relationships. People who no longer borrow your energy to fill their void, but those who resonate with your new frequency. People who are also on the path of awakening, learning to love themselves and others with authenticity. This is a rare, sacred resonance. And amidst it all, you realize, true growth is not about adding more, but letting go of everything you are not, to return to everything you truly are. As you enter this chapter of your life, you are no longer afraid of loss. Because you understand, nothing that is truly yours can ever be lost. What fades away is merely the shell. But your essence, awareness, presence, love, clarity, remains steady as a mountain in a storm. You begin to understand that every pain is an invitation to come home. Home to yourself. Home to life in its fullness. No more division. No more pretending. Only liberating honesty remains. And that is when something miraculous happens. You no longer see life as a series of problems to solve. You see it as an unfolding symphony, where you are not just an audience member, but the artist co-creating your own life. You learn to trust the process. To trust the wisdom in the spirals, the losses, and even the uncertainty. You no longer need everything to be clear. Because now, clarity arises from within, from intuition, from presence, from the readiness to live truthfully. And so, you continue on, not walking in fear of getting lost, but walking with the faith that the path will appear beneath your feet, as long as you move forward with an open heart. If you're feeling these things, if something within you is shifting quietly yet powerfully, don't worry. You're not broken. You are awakening. And your next chapter? It won't be written by force or expectation, but by the light of truth that's growing within you. Trust that. Because something extraordinary is truly beginning. Right inside you. Right now. Something inside you is awakening, and it can no longer be extinguished. It's no longer a fleeting curiosity or a desire to change because of external circumstances. This is a pure longing from within, something that makes it impossible for you to go back to an old version of yourself. It's like a flame, not blazing wildly, but quiet, steady, and continuously spreading inside you. Day by day, you can no longer pretend that you're okay staying with things that no longer fit. Every shallow conversation tires you out. Every fake relationship makes you withdraw inwardly. Loud places, superficial expectations, goals that once motivated you now feel like burdens. Not because you've suddenly become weaker, but because you are developing a deeper sense of yourself and what truly nourishes your soul. You no longer have the strength to endure what is not authentic. Whether it's the roles you once played to please others, whether it's the silence you chose to avoid cracks, whether it's the fears that kept you standing still. Now, you are slowly peeling off each mask, each defense layer, each outdated belief that once covered your true self. And then, the painful but necessary truth appears. To truly grow, you don't just need to learn something new, you need the courage to let go. Letting go of controlling relationships. Letting go of roles that suffocate you. Letting go of stagnant habits and repetitive thoughts that make you doubt your own worth. This letting go is not an act of rebellion. It's a respectful awakening. You don't leave because of hatred. You leave because you love yourself enough not to stay where you no longer belong. And at that moment, you begin to touch the purest, strongest version of yourself. A you who doesn't need acceptance to feel worthy. A you who doesn't need others' approval to feel complete. A you who lives slower, deeper, and quieter, but inside, there is an ocean expanding. Outwardly, things might look unchanged. You still work, care for family, fulfill daily responsibilities. But inside, you are no longer the old person. Quietly, you are reshaping your entire life, not through dramatic decisions but through consistent and honest choices with yourself. You begin to say no without guilt. You begin to rest without needing to prove anything. You begin to choose solitude over being with those who make you feel lonelier. And the strange thing happens. The world begins to mirror the change within you. The right people start to appear. New doors begin to open. And above all, you feel light. Not because everything is easy, but because you are living true to your own truth. This is not a journey for those who want safety. This is a journey for souls willing to break down to be reborn. Willing to admit that sometimes we must give up a stable life, to step into a life that is truly our own. You may find yourself drifting further from the old world. No longer fitting into dull conversations, soulless goals, or insincere relationships. But instead of feeling lost, you start to feel free. Because for the first time, you are no longer running away from yourself. And then, something more sacred begins to emerge, reconnection. Not to ideals, titles, or expectations, but direct connection with your heart, the purest source of life you once forgot. You begin to live as if every moment carries sacred meaning. You listen more carefully to your body. You cherish silence. You find beauty in simple things. This is when you realize, healing doesn't come from becoming better, it comes from coming back to yourself. No need to prove anything. No need to carry burdens. No need to try to deserve anything. You just need to be present, fully, deeply, and honestly. And if you have come this far on this transformative journey, remember you are not alone. There is a world of awakening souls with you, silent, humble, yet powerful. Trust your feelings. Honor the truth within you. And keep moving forward, even if the path is sometimes foggy. Because every honest step you take, no matter how small, is creating a life that is deeper, more sincere, and ultimately, worth living. You have begun to step into the space between two versions of yourself, the person you once were and the person you are becoming. It is a quiet land, a place without spotlight, without a clear roadmap, and without immediate certainty. Yet, it is in that place where the richest soil lies for the deepest transformation you have ever experienced. There, you start to realize what you once avoided, that you cannot go back. You cannot return to the old way of life, to the beliefs that once comforted you, or to the roles you once found safe. Those things were your anchors, but now they feel constricting, like a beautiful outfit that no longer fits. You can still try to wear it, but it suffocates you. You begin to see that peace no longer comes from familiarity. It comes from authenticity. And authenticity is not always comfortable. It often means the breaking down of what once shielded you from the rough parts of yourself, those parts you never dared to face head-on. But now, you are no longer afraid. You start to accept that chaos is part of the refining process. Like a grain of sand trapped inside an oyster becoming a pearl, you too are undergoing a painful yet beautiful transformation. Not because you are wrong or weak, but because you are being reshaped from within. And then, something strange happens. You begin to see clearly. Not with your eyes, but with awareness. The things that once confused you now become transparent. The people you tried to please no longer hold power over your value. You stop chasing approval. You no longer strive to be loved on someone else's terms. You start loving yourself without needing a reason. Not the hollow kind of self-love, but a deep reconciliation with yourself. A love born from the understanding that you are imperfect, but you are real. And that is enough. You begin to choose differently. No longer based on fear of loss, but on wholeness. You stop asking, "What will others think?" and start asking, "Does this truly fit me?" You pause whenever your mind tries to replay old patterns. And even if you sometimes step back, you no longer blame yourself like before. Instead, you learn to return gently but firmly. This is where you understand the difference between loneliness and inner independence. You can be alone, but no longer feel abandoned. On the contrary, you feel free. You don't need others to fill your emptiness anymore. You seek connection, but not dependence. You start building relationships based on resonance, not necessity. And then, like a cool breeze after a storm, you sense something very new, subtle yet unmistakable, the settling into yourself. You are no longer lost within your own life. No need for many explanations. No need to try to be understood, because you have begun to understand yourself. From that point, the smallest things begin to bring great joy. A sincere look, a quiet moment, a decision to say no to protect your peace. Each time you are honest with yourself, you feel stronger. Not a showy kind of strength, but the kind that holds you steady even when no one is watching. This is when you realize, awakening is not a destination. It is a series of small deaths and great rebirths. A journey without a map, yet full of intuition. A process of coming back to yourself, not to become someone else, but to shed all the disguises that once helped you survive, so finally, you begin to truly live. And in that real life, you don't need to strive to be someone special. You have always been special. You just need to step out of the limits that once covered that truth. No one else can give you that. No compliment, no certificate, no confirmation can replace the silent voice inside you, the voice that has been waiting for you to listen all your life. And now you are listening. If you are still in the unclear, uncertain phase, know that you are not alone. Many stand at the crossroads between old and new, between knowing and not knowing, between fear and longing. But it is exactly there, where you think you are falling out of life, that you are truly falling into life. You do not need to fix yourself. You only need to remember who you are, before the world taught you to shrink away. And if this touches you, know it is no accident. Every awakened soul leaves a trace. And so do you. Your story matters. Your transformation is a guiding light for others. Don't underestimate the impact of living authentically. Keep going. Slow down when needed. Fall if you must, but fall with trust. Because you are not falling to break apart. You are falling to reconnect with yourself, with truth, with the deepest part of you that no one else can reach but you. This is not the end. This is the coming home. When you begin to recognize the space between the old and the new selves within you, the next step is not to rush to fill it, but to learn how to live with that emptiness, as a silent friend, without pressure, demanding nothing but your sincere presence. That emptiness is not a sign of lack, but a space of infinite potential, a womb full of possibilities waiting for you to bring them to life. What's important is that you don't necessarily have to understand it right now. In spiritual life and personal growth, there is a natural law. The most important answers often don't come in noisy moments or when you are trying hard to find them. They come in silence, in waiting, in moments when you let go of control and allow yourself to simply be still with all the uncertainty. And in that stillness, the false ego you once tried to hold onto will naturally drift away. Not because you consciously let go, but because it no longer fits you. It is like an old, tattered coat that has long been too small, and now you are gradually putting on a new coat, light, natural, perfectly fitting the contours of your true self inside. You will begin to feel a fresh energy, a vitality unlike anything before. Not the energy of fleeting excitement or intense emotions, but the energy of deep acceptance and serenity. That energy is like a warm flame, illuminating from within, allowing you to move forward even without knowing exactly where the path leads. Moving forward without needing to see the whole path, that is the true symbol of real maturity. You may have feared losing direction, that change would leave you in utter loneliness, but in reality, what you need is a life not built on pretense, a life constructed from the utmost authenticity. And as you begin to live that way, you will notice the relationships around you also start to change. Those who no longer fit will gradually step out of your life, not with conflict or pain, but as a natural arrangement of the universe. At the same time, you will attract those who resonate with your truest self, people who do not demand you to hide, pretend, or try to be someone else. This is when you realize the power of choice, not the choice imposed by society, but the choice from the depths of your heart, without regret or fear. You are free to say no to things that drain you, and free to say yes to things that truly make you feel alive. You also become clearer with yourself. You know what you want, what you need, and the limits you cannot cross. And that makes you no longer afraid to stand alone, because you have the strongest relationship with yourself. This maturity is not the final destination but the first step on a longer, deeper journey. It is the journey of continuous self-awareness, of constantly looking back, facing, and loving every part within you, both the shining light and the wounded shadows. You learn to embrace all emotions instead of running from them. You allow yourself to cry when needed, to be angry without guilt. You understand that every feeling has value, and every state is part of becoming. And when you start accepting and fully cherishing yourself like that, life begins to reflect that truth. You will see the beauty, the opportunities, and the connections you never noticed before. You will feel peace even amid challenges, because you no longer resist them. Life is no longer a series of external events controlling you, but a journey walking alongside yourself. A non-stop dialogue between heart and mind, between soul and body. This is true freedom. Not freedom from responsibility or hardship, but freedom in how you receive and respond to them. You may not control everything that happens, but you always control how you rise, how you love, and how you keep moving forward. Remember that every step you take is valuable, no matter how small or slow. Every moment you spend being honest with yourself is a victory. And every time you choose to live true to yourself is a step toward the light of awakening. Do not fear this process. Do not rush to find perfect answers. Trust the natural flow of life. Trust the transformation within you. Let things happen in their own way, and you will find yourself becoming stronger, more resilient, and more meaningful than ever. You are not alone on this journey. Many others are going through similar phases, small steps, quiet moments, silent changes. And those stories, those shared experiences, will become priceless strength, helping you feel connected and understood. If this message touches your heart, don't hesitate to share your thoughts and feelings. Your words might be a guiding light for others who are also searching for themselves in the space between the old and the new. Let us build together a community where honesty and kindness are honored, where everyone is encouraged to live truly, deeply, and meaningfully. Because ultimately, the most precious thing is not success, not material wealth, but the harmony between soul and life. You have come this far, and that is the beginning of a new journey. A journey where you are fully yourself, no need to hide, no need to change. A journey leading to the deepest freedom, the freedom to become who you were born to be.